Are you going to have more words or more poems from that series?
I could, couldn't I? Because yeah, and I think I told you that there's a whole other part of Galaxy. There was that whole caravan, and I was really surprised that I hadn't described it. But it was late at night, and I guess I must have just gone back to the boat and just not journaled it somehow. And I'm gonna have to find videos because they were amazing.
Wow.
Finding this amazing. I mean, it was so surreal in the middle of this town to find these circus performers all dressed up,
Mhm.
and down on the wharf and doing all these. Yeah, they certainly had trapezes, and yeah, they had clowns.
Well,
Um,
we'll look forward to hearing more of
I'm
that.
gonna, yeah, I'm gonna.
Oops.
What's going on?
I've got
Oh,
Ann
great.
Waldman queued up because
Yeah,
Tim Mateer was talking about bones and that bones have skin. So I thought of skin, meat, bones. So
right.
5 minute. Let's just
This is our last class, right?
yes.
Right.
We meet again in 3 weeks for those who sign up for the March, April.
Right. I'm still thinking about that. Still thinking about that.
All right, I'm going to hit Ann.
I better go.
I've come to tell you of the things dear to me and what I discovered of the skin bones. The body waking up so sweet to the skin. Don't like the sweet skin. I'm hungry for close to meat. Instead, close to motion. Oh, skeleton bone. You might stretch down skin. So warm, fresh, and lasting a while bone. Hot like a creeping. Memory like a bone creeping. Little laughter lines around the eyes. Skin. And how the mouth better than the rest. Meat or nipples of food. The lights going to make it I can pierce his skin. I'll go to skin. I can go with character change. Please get under my skin. Take hold of me, interest or annoying intensely. Don't be on my skin. No skin, I'll lose. Buster, please stay skin. Okay, I'm going to put the link in the chat because I feel us running out of time. But for those who want to go back to Ann's skin, meat, and bone, and also the audio quality wasn't ideal. That makes it harder to listen to. But oops, I just sent it to Ann. But let me send it to everybody, everyone in the meeting, so you can have Ann's skin, meat, bones. I was looking for the text of it, but saw the YouTube, so I thought I'd go with that. Anyway, you can follow up there. And Laura, is your opportunity and your sacred duty now to choose who might go next.
Carl, will you go next?
Here we go. Oh, did he send me something? Carlton, do I have to go do an email? Oh, yes, he surely did. Okay, so I'm going to open the check-in and I'm going to share screen. Oh, I have to read it too, don't I, Carlton? I have to read it. So I'm on as well. So let me just go to share screen check in. I believe this is it here. And here we go, your classic font. Okay, so tonight, February 6, 2022. After the workshop, I had chili and a salad for dinner while we watched the 2022 Winter Olympics. I'm very much enjoying listening to the playlist for this week, very captivating. I have listened to it at least twice through. I watched the Lorraine Niedecker video, as well as your video poem. I've been reading more. Thank you for the shout out on that. I've been reading more of Haibun de la Serna this week. Wonderful Haibuns. Coughing more, and it's a drag not to feel sick, but heck, life goes on. I do need to work more on my time management so as to spend more time in poetic immersions and not so much on Facebook and other wastes of time. Yes, 2 words, surveillance capitalism. Need I say more? Anyway, a Haibun. Here's the Haibun. While water washes my daily aches and pain, I find myself drowning, waiting for the rain to abate. There is a natal offering long ago from the watery room. Now I await for the translucent orange fire to consume my poetry as well as my marrow. For now there is this water, as I bob between the crests and troughs of each wave. I float, balancing the turn of surf and sun, notions of life and space. Consistent with the theme of bones, thank you for that, Carlton. And the check-in continues. This week I have been watching far too much of the Olympics. Well, it's not as pernicious as Facebook, but this is the first talk I've heard anyone say of the Olympics, and I'm interested in hearing how it went for you and what you think of it, because I'm really not paying attention. But somehow I've been enjoying the ski jumping and the curling, as well as the bobsled runs, which reminds me of a quote from my father when I turned 40, said half jokingly, "It's all downhill from here." A man after my own heart. I've been busy this past week getting my poetry together and still have work to do to catch up for this week. As the workshop was starting tonight, I spilled water on my desk and my iPad, so I had to stop my video share while I did a quick cleanup. That is scary. Still wading through proprioception, I think a lot of my body in space and my balance. Well, this is a really good point because, when we think of when Olson writes of proprioception, he's thinking of the male body, and Daphne Marlett says, hey, Charles Olson, what about the female body? And, differently abled people would say, what about people who are differently abled? What about our bodies? How do they fit into this? And these are all really important questions. And Carlton, your presence here expands our range of understanding on these things. And Anne, I would say you as well, because of what you're going through and because of what you have to do to be here. And so it expands our ability to be compassionate people by having you expand our bandwidth and making us understand that not everybody can take these things for granted like most of us can. There is an ekphrastic poem I wrote Saturday during a workshop held at the local art gallery. I took photos because it made it easier to write with a photo right there. Rain on Water, based on a painting Intermittent Rain by Maury Hurt. This is green. There is a distant green field, perhaps a greenhouse, and now there is a green light to move forward. This is rain on water, falling like emeralds, showering the ground, the stream, the grasses. This dazzlement of air and water brings forth a bow of color, a spark of wonder in a floral tapestry. This is a palm afternoon. Here, there is afterwards and an afterthought, and afterwards it is shot through with light and gathered in the pools and eddies below, and so 2 lonely dead leaves sail down these misty waters. Right there and there. Wow, beautiful. Mm-hmm. Beautiful piece that you chose. Did the art, oh, wait, haven't finished. This is water, rainwater, groundwater, river water, watering hole, heading eventually to the sea, where the great maw of life consumes all only to fall and crash on distant shores, perhaps not so green. perhaps not in the afternoon, but still irrevocably water. There it is. Did the poet, did Maury get to see your poem? Carlton, I have to stop screen share to see it because.
No, it was more than that, one moment.
One moment.
I love the chat comments. I think they're astute. That's Mrs. J in the background, I'm assuming. Carlton's wife, I guess. So he may be typing his check-in. So I want to give him a moment or two to get that because he.
The painter is dead, but the exhibit was of 3 generations of painters.
I see. Excellent. All right. Well, I'm glad that you're involved in other media because it's so rich to be involved with other artists. As I will when I'll do a check-in with the Mendocino Book Art. There's one thing in particular I want to show you, but I think it's fantastic to get involved with the local painters and nice work. Glad you're getting some writing done. Facebook is a gigantic time waste. It's such a it's and their business practices are so reprehensible. Surveillance capitalism. Yeah, it's the funny thing is, if you go on vacation and don't check Facebook and you come back and you have 135 notifications and you go through them, there's about 3 that are really interesting. The rest is crap. So yeah, I think you're wise to recognize that Facebook's a waste of time, and I would encourage you to try and wean yourself from it. Says the guy who checks Facebook every day. I didn't check it today. I don't think I did. But I got the Postcard Fest page I gotta look after, and it's becoming a weaker and weaker excuse. Carlton, you get to pick who's next. So maybe someone will have a reference to bones in their poem. You've been writing postcards too, far out. I got a bunch of postcards. I got some beautiful Redwood Highway postcards and redwood, big long postcards with redwoods on them. Ingrid, you've gotten the call. Thanks, Carlton. Tell Bonnie I liked her laugh. You can hear that.
Thank you, Carlton. I enjoyed that reading of that proprioception kind of article because of the way that it gave it was the same example Laura used, the example, the way the body feels for the way the art is, the idea that you can have points of color and your eyes are doing something to make color in your body itself. So it's like something that's going on inside of you. And the one that Laura was talking about really caught me, was the rock climber and the gravity. It was like a dance going up, the way that it wasn't just thought out movement, but it was like an orchestration that was going on between the cliff and the person and the gravity, all of them talking together. And just reading about that kind of thing and reading about what he said about, or she, whoever wrote the article about Duchamp. I was in Modpo the first time that I met that nude, the Cubist nude on the staircase, and I saw the that art, that latrine stuck in the art museum, you know, for shock value. But there was a concept behind it, and it makes sense when you hear it in this article. There's more that's going on than the simple like a pun or a prank or a joke. It was like Gertrude Stein writing in Cubism. That was one of the examples that was used, and the way that talking about the physical reactions in theater and dance was the same. There was, and one of the sections was on that. It was pretty amazing to me. I could see, I like the idea that came out of it, of writing a sequence and having the sequence go from place to place, sort of like the points of color making the light and making the brain have to mix it. And so I tried to write like a kind of a weave out of the poems, jotting things down and then putting my haiku in, and then just putting down the experiences of each day. That's what I did for a poem based on that, taking the bodily and trying to put them together. But I didn't succeed in getting that bodily feeling. So I've got a long way to go, but it still was fun to do. It was a good exercise. I really loved your video, Paul, where you went out on February 1st and took the video and wrote your poem, and the way that you used the graphics even to counteract with the picture in the background. That was really cool. Whoever did that you said you worked with somebody on it. You guys did a really good job. And you did it all the way.
Yes.
Very good. It was very well done. It was like an orchestration too, that same way, like climbing the cliff. There was an orchestration between the graphics, the poem, and the picture. And I love those kind of blends. They're really pretty neat. I remember from the week before, and I didn't look at it, that movie that Carl, you suggested to us. Carl, that was so sad. And yet that person wasn't going to go out. They were going to go out railing against the light, fighting for life. I think that you do that yourself. You're just holding on and you're making poems. And I think it's great. And about the Boulder fire, in Colorado Springs, there was a fire like that poem described, that was a wall of a fire, and it comes crashing down the hill. And people in Colorado Springs, they stood outside their shops just watching this 2,000-foot wall charging down, and it roars. It's noisy. That wall of fire is a noisy living thing. And I remember my brother-in-law and his wife, they built a house in Asheville. So it's all over the country. This is like East Coast in North Carolina in the Smoky Mountains, but they were 5 minutes away from dying. And when the fire came and they were warned, they were 5 minutes in front of the fire where they couldn't hardly see the road. And when they went back, it was just like in the Boulder fire. It was like a ghost town. Everything was flat and melted. So they had built a retirement home with everything that they had in it, and everything was just a puddle in the ground covered with ash. And the dog came because the dog would come to them, but their 3 cats hid. And they had no time to find the cats because they were running for their very lives. And they were only 5 minutes ahead of the fire. It was horrid. I think that 15,000 people were, unhoused in just one fire, that one in Asheville. There are horrible things that are going on in our world from climate change that's going on. So that was an interesting one. And from last week, I didn't report on it. That way of looking at the COVID. Here we got poor Ann Walker, who's got it. It's nowhere gone, and yet we're talking about it like it was past tense. It's like all wishful thinking, maybe. And about the flies, Ann, on the meat. I lived in Guatemala for a while, and they hung on those meat on those carts. You'd go buy your food, it would be outside, and everything would be covered with flies. I was watching men spray the meat with Raid because they were trying to kill the flies. There'd be you're getting not only, meat with flies, but you were getting Raid because they didn't realize what they were doing. It's just incredible.
Some places you pay extra for Raid basted beef.
Yeah, Raid basted beef. I can't believe it. I had paratyphoid fever, and it was horrid in Guatemala. It was so bad that I couldn't take like a sip of water. I mean, my entire body, it was just incredible. But when you're in a culture like that where it's not cleansed, not clean, I mean, outside with all the flies and stuff. But oh boy, I'm sorry about the loss of the cat too, Ann. That's really bad. As to New York City, where Skylar should go, make sure you go to the Cloisters. They've got a little nature garden inside of it that's a wonderful little gem of a place. And it's right on the Hudson River walk, so you're right across the street from the Hudson River. It's really beautiful. And one place I want to go is what Paul and somebody else mentioned. Oh, maybe, I don't remember which one did it, but that Highline Park, I've got to go there. That's my to-do list. I want to go there too. And I can read it, but I don't know how to screen share. So I'll just read it if
I'm gonna screen share, but I have to plug in because my computer battery's about to die. So I gotta move. We don't have any room in this hotel room. It's a very, very tiny one. So you move one thing off one thing and you gotta move around and I feel a race against time here. Here. Oh, you start talking about 5 minutes before the fire, and I'm like, oh my God, I got 5 minutes before my battery goes dead.
They said it was. They said that it was dark. They said they couldn't see. They said you couldn't even see the road. I mean, they were just punting in the dark in that smoke, and then they had to get rid of the car. All the times that it was washed, never get that smell out. It was just built right into it had burned right into their own vehicle.
It's nasty. Well,
for it.
Okay, so thanks for the kind words about my poem. I appreciate that. I think we all should record poems. I think we should record our poems and listen to them and see how they correspond with how we laid it out on the page. I think that's an interesting little assignment. But let me do the share screen here to go to intermix and give it back to Ingrid.
Okay, intermix. Father Towner makes electrical sounds spark, a gentle tinkle of breeze lifts up strands of hair. I rub his notes out of my eyes. February 1, the lunar year of the tiger enters. My friend Suzanne was born in the year of the tiger. The girl, her dog, and dad, all three share the tiger. Midway, crossing the winter bridge, a tiger roars. 12 zodiac star signs. My zodiac sign is Libra. 12 animals number the cycle of years. The year I am born, a rooster crows in January, and the month I'm born, a dog barks. Born in the year of the dog, I fear dogs. I carry a dog curse. German Shepherd scars mark my eyelid and cheek ever since Mac bit my face when I was 3, when I tried to ride him. Wishful thinking, the busyness of sticks. Click, tick, sticks, the beat repeats in the background. Wasps drill holes in the live edge of the picnic table outside in the porch. A solid looking tabletop work surface made from a pair of cedar slabs, beats and sides its 81 growth rings where bees tunnel and throb. February 12th. My husband and I spend the afternoon making Valentine cards with Rena for her kindergarten classmates. And we help Ivy make cards for her 2 daycare teachers. Eily has so much fun, she doesn't want us to leave and cries. What a best ever Valentine gift for grandparents. In Baker, the Dream Eater, Townsend's notes flame from a fireplace roar. Soft ashes sprinkle down, one eddy swirls like a dust devil. A layer of dust motes coats ears, furniture, and floor. February 13, crystal weight, snowflakes fall in a wobble. I attend Latihan, lifted to peace. I wait for poetry class, life as rehearsal for the poem too. Music and lives intermix. A lacy snow magic of white on white. February 14, Valentine's Day. I'll set out a Valentine card and cookies. Townsend's Claridad flows, the current gentle. A light breeze touches down in crackle. The surface of Peckway Creek wrinkles in light shards. Music bounces off the sycamore leaves. A rip of light sound stretches from trunk to limb to twig. Over the water, the sunlight glows green. When winter day is cold and gray, play some Townsend for summer. That's it. Anyway, I'd like Adelia, please.
Whoa. That was epic. You can't just, boom, we can't just, I rub his notes out of my eyes. Far out. There were so many lines like this and so much music in this. And it felt like when I was listening, it's like, here's the news. You know, Ezra Pound said, poetry is news that stays news. And this feels so like that. So eternal. So like we are, you know, we're in this moment with you. You have us there. You've done what poetry is supposed to do. You're not giving us so much that we don't need to be there. You're giving, and you're not giving us hardly anything, so we don't know where the hell we are. You're right in the middle, in the perfect, you know, the perfect meat of the act of poetry, giving us enough to get some sense of going on and letting us be smart enough to use our imagination to figure it out. I love it. Such a beautiful thing, and it all flowed very nicely. There's some really nice musical moments in this. A lot of melopea, to quote another Pound thing. But beautiful to get a little view of your life, what's going on, and what a beautiful, gentle, productive life it is, from what I can tell. Ingrid, did you get anything in the mail from Seattle, Washington lately?
No? Was I supposed to?
Yes, you were. And the stamps on it were so good that the person at the post office commented, "Those are some good stamps."
Ah.
So look forward to some good stamps. See,
Okay.
a postcard, one stamp, unless you're sending it to Canada. And then what are you going to do? Put 5 on it and then have no room to write? So you got to get one of the international stamps. But on a package, 5, 6 stamps, beautiful. So something with at least 5 stamps and the rest of the postage that I was short on a sticker and headed to your house, if I got the address right. And I think I did.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Beautiful work. Such inspired participation, Ingrid. Such a joy to have you here.
I love it. I'm already signed up for the next class, so
I thank you for that. And I appreciate the early signers.
And I told Rob, I said, come on back, Rob.
What's wrong with this guy?
He says he's busy on other projects, but I want to be busy with us. I just love everybody's lives here. You guys are great. All of you are such incredible people. I like us doing this class together. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. And I'll miss you for a couple of weeks, and then I'll see you again.
If the other class were not to have enough, but only have a couple of people, would you guys be opposed to me bringing a couple more people in here? Or how do you feel about that? You could go yes, no, or so. You can go, you're saying, I see thumbs. Okay, that may be a possibility, so I'll keep you posted on that. Good people. I wouldn't put an asshole in this class, so you know that. There's only room for one asshole in this class. And he runs it. Okay, and that's why I got gout, because I got to control everything. Okay, so Ingrid, you get to pick.
I wanted Delia to go next because I missed her.
I saw her laughing, and I had a feeling you were going to pick her because she was laughing, but
she's my buddy. Thank you.
Oh, Ingrid, that was so. I just want to talk about your poem. I was so caught up in it.
You should.
And I was hearing the rhythm building in different parts. It's like you're experimenting in different ways at different times, and kind of like listening to a symphony where it's going to be the clarinet for a while, and then it's going to be the flute. So it's all those different tricks that you're thinking about and applying. And also, well, I wrote it in the comments too, but your life ongoing like this, beautiful river, and just the details, but just right. And the snow, the weather, the music, I don't know, that was just, it was such a delight to listen to it, because it was everything was fresh and unexpected. So yeah, just so nice, and just really pushing, this is a cliche, but it's funny because it's ironically being used, pushing the envelope to make it fresh and new.
Yeah, it was Joanne Krieger's journal, like we read, but it was our own pieces from this class woven in.
Oh yeah, it was really great. So I just wanted to, I'd love to hear more. It was over too soon. It's like, oh, what now? What? Oh, right, tomorrow. Okay, now I can picture what you're going to do tomorrow. It's just so. Anyway, I have probably I apologize. I did 2 road trips this week, and that involved a lot of visiting and working, and I just I don't have a good. I did read through the piece on proprioception, but I listened to everyone else's notes, and they're much better than what I could say. And and then today was busy too. I just helped make Valentine's, help my grandson and make Valentine's for his daycare. It was really cute. So, but I somehow cobbled together a poem, and I apologize. It's very much today, because tomorrow is Valentine's Day. And Paul is.
Yes. Proprioception and latihan. Do you have any insight into the combination of those two?
Oh my gosh. That's a really interesting question. I think they're one and the same thing, really. Don't you, Paul?
Well, what occurred to me as I started doing this investigation, spurred on by this class, was that, and I asked the Subud librarian, Daniela Moneta, is there a link between proprioception and latihan? Is there any scholarship on that? And she said, well, first you have to tell me what proprioception is. And then she told of a testing that Bapak did where he had people feel the latihan in your hands, feel the latihan in your arms, feel the latihan in your shoulders, feel the latihan in your feet. And he went through the whole thing, and people were testing for a long time about this. And she sent me some of the results, of course, not for other eyes, but I could summarize them. And she also said that Bapak said, helpers, now take this to your communities and do these testings with other people.
Well,
so,
yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
these proprioceptors are in the body, and even people who have knee replacements or hip replacements, it was referenced in some of the research I'm reading, their proprioception was still working. So it's somehow not like a phone wire where things are going in a continuous way, but it's this network that is totally connected. And I think that when one does Latihan, one's proprioceptors are lit up. And so you're receiving, it's like a whole body spirituality kind of thing. I'm sure it's not the only one, but I think that Latihan does that. So that's kind of the course that I'm seeking to find more information about. So I thought, as being one of the 3 practitioners of Latihan in the room, that maybe you'd have some thoughts. And now that I've planted the seed, maybe you come in 3 weeks and have some notions about it. I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. I've got lots to say. I done lots of that kind of awareness testing with Ibu too in Innsbruck, and I'd say more, but it's kind of I feel like it's too much of an insider conversation. But just to say what does apply to everyone is the inner bodies, which anyone who studies any esoteric religion will discover. Like the Hindus talk about it, Chinese medicine talks about it. It's all there. However you want to, whatever blueprint you want to apply to it, and the Latihan is developing those inner bodies. So that's why. And yeah, so absolutely, I just see it as, of course, right? So, but I'd love to say more at another point. I really would prepare something a bit more articulate.
To be continued.
Yeah. Is there a bit of feedback? Or are we okay? I heard, okay, good. So I'll read my poem. I can email it to you quickly, Paul, if you want, or I'll just read it, whatever's easier.
Can you screen share?
If you make me a co-host, I guess I can, yeah. We'll just find it. Oh, why don't I see it? Sorry, I don't see it. Oh, yes, I do. There. And, oh, good. So this is kind of, I realized as I was writing it, kind of in lieu of Valentine's Day being tomorrow, and called Solemn River Blues. So spontaneous, on the road, poem hunting. I wasn't really poem hunting, but the poem, I knew I had to start writing about it, but this is just the first part. Solemn River Blues. You're crossing a bridge over a little river in the rain, Cowboy Junkie's song on the radio. The low-pitched voice of the female singer, languid, melancholy, like it's made of velvet. You once had a house near this river, a house you abandoned for Europe. You knew this part of the river as well as you knew your own body, knees, elbows, moles. This river bends like a dancer's wrists as it descends from Mount Washington. You once compared the water-bent sunlight over, whoops, sorry, repeating words, but anyway, you once compared the water-bent sunlight over its rounded stones to the light in your Chippewa lover's brown eyes. Where is he now? You poured some of his ashes into an elbow of the Danube from a high-up bridge during a snowstorm, then sat in a Bratislava bar with your German artist friend, drinking to love. The beer there so cheap you drank all evening, then poured yourselves on the train back to Vienna. Did you really drink to love? At least you remember his eyes. You drink to them now. How you laughed when your ex-mother-in-law referred to him as that Indian. You wanted to tell her he was a much better father to your granddaughter than your doctor son ever was. At least he had quit drinking, which is more than I can say for you. You never said any of those things. One just didn't. So many layers of silence. Like layers of polish on the furniture. You just had to shine it up now and then. Careful not to catch your reflection in it, though. A sonnet dedicated to him might compare him to a summer's day, but would also include the sea anchor he kept in the back of his old truck, and how he wanted to sail away with you, but died instead. This river carries the light in his brown eyes constantly downstream, and light dancing slowly, this light dancing slowly to the Cowboy Junkies as I cross the bridge over the Solemn. So there we are. Valentine's blues. Not really. It was just nice to, just where the poem went. It kind of surprised me. I was going to write about a bunch of other stuff. We'll wait for you to type it, Carl.
Pretty potent, Adelia. I didn't know that it started at Mount Washington. I didn't know that river, but I probably have been by it.
Only if you took the back roads. Only, yeah. When you come up again, we can take a trip out there.
Fascinating. The way you compared it to the way the river was animated, anthropomorphized. Beautiful. The comparisons of the river to a body and the different parts of the body and how that comes up again. Also use of language. If you scroll, if I could see down a little bit, how you poured yourself onto you didn't say poured on, you said poured on the train, but there it is. Go a little higher. Yeah. You drank all evening and then poured yourselves, I would say, onto the train.
Oh, right. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, back to Vienna. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a type.
Yeah. Wow.
Freaking awesome, Adelia.
Oh, thank you, Carl.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And if you go down a little bit, I had a person who called her former mother-in-law her mother outlaw because she's no longer mother-in-law. So that's what I call Buffy, who's taking care of our surviving rabbit. Buffy, Ella's grandma, as my mother outlaw. But you don't have to use that. He was a much better father to your granddaughter than your doctor's son ever was. I mean, the quote that you just really want to tell her, that's fantastic. We're getting a real depth here of personal mythology and expression. And also in your telling that you never could say that, where you say, but you never said any of these things, one just didn't, that's also says so much about you to see the way you word this, and it's beautiful. Fantastic. I love it. I bet you just threw that together too. That's part of the method here, that when you're feeling the energy from something, that you're capturing this energy, you're capturing it in images and sounds and things that we can touch, taste, smell, whatever, and that you're avoiding cliches and cheap similes and metaphors. There was a simile up, like velvet, I think is what you use, but I think that was earned. The energy didn't seem to drop out at that point. So nicely done. Thank you.
Well, thank you. There is this interesting place that when the poems take you somewhere that you didn't expect, and that you can feel the energy and you just have to follow it, and you're going, oh, I didn't mean to write about this, but there it goes. And then you just want the rest of the world to go away so you can stick with it and have anyway, I'm glad it worked out because this was such a busy week. Oh, well, thanks.
But that's the essence of writing this way. You start writing and you think it's going to go somewhere, but you trust the moment enough. You trust whatever muses or entities or resonances that are propelling you more than you trust your ego, right? You trust the sound of the poem, or if you have to resort to using alluvials, you trust that, oh yes, I had a hit back there that I didn't get to, and I meant to put that in, and it comes up because it's almost like a prayer. The John Brehm exercise, or the one inspired by John Brehm, that Ingrid hipped me to. I got in touch with him, and I've been reading his book, and he's coming from a very similar place. Obviously, his work is more conventional. It's kind of stuff you'd see in the Sun, but there's a beauty to it. And I've been reading some of his work, and I'm going to do an interview with him. So thank you, Ingrid, for picking that up. And yes, the poem is a meditative thing. It's like a prayer. They're very, very similar. It's that same kind of region of your consciousness where you're hearing these sounds, but obviously they're not sounds. You're hearing this prompt, and the line between that and a crazy person is a very thin one. But that's what what you did. It was just give us the beauty of it, and it's beautiful to get. It's medicine for us when you go that deep down your throat, and you turn that what could be a rant into a beautiful sort of lament and elegy for us on this occasion tomorrow, where not everyone celebrates this. People are like, fuck Valentine's Day. I don't want to think about it, you know? So thank you.
Great. Well, no, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're close to our closing time, but I just want to also add. Can you hear me?
Shit, I didn't see that. Shit. Yeah, but you wanted to add. Go ahead.
No, how many more people are left? Just
I think we have two. Do we have three? We have three people.
Because it would be good, Susan. Susan, you need to go. I won't say any more, Susan. And yeah, I'm. And I also just want to say really quickly how much I enjoy everyone in this class. I just do. I was watching the video of the week that I missed and just going, oh my God, oh, just everything that people were sharing and so many gems, right? Always. And I was happy that I could watch the recording. Okay, so we better, okay, we'll make, everyone got time, hopefully. Susan.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, thanks, Ingrid, for that poem. That was like Lorene Dicker. Maybe the way you read it too. Okay, so I have a bit more of my poem. I'll jump in to it and a little bit. 8,000 years ago, looking new as last year, sleeping in their beds of ash, pinkish banks along the highway, a place of fish and lava-lined creeks, a place of crashing sounds of water, how it pools, ferns and leaves, foam, drifting. The mountain and what's behind it. A lot of work, a lot. Fish in their streams, their trees, taken to the ocean and back, forth, back, behind the mountain. Shovels, chains, exhaust, years and years of this. Turning, plowing, mowing, chop, chop, saw and grind down, stone slip, duff into the river. What did not burn becomes new so soon. When I explained, I couldn't get out the words. Left, leaving, the mountain stopped my speech about the mountain, about its old volcanic look, and the strange city on top when it snows, small thin protrusions above the clouds. I can almost hear them clinking their glasses, toasting winter, celebrating their distance. In reality, receivers, wires, lights blinking, radio towers. I could look and look forever, stare at the mountain. Where would it get me? Where? Only more mountain gazing. The top, the sides, all around. The time we climbed inside the mine. It was hard to breathe in there, so crowded, with dust and stones, twisted metal imaginations. And that was great to see a little bit of Anne Waldman. Oh, she's so ancient in her presentation and her performance. She's the oracle, definitely. And the article from the, I think it was Boulder Camera, about the Marshall Fire. Yeah, so funny how none of it talks about Rocky Flats, which is just south of where the fire happened. And I think
I didn't know that. I had no idea about that.
Yeah, just I don't know if the fire bordered it. I mean, it must have been really close. So I read a bit about Rocky Flats, like what's happened since when I lived in Boulder, and I guess they decommissioned it and buried a lot of, well, they said they buried all the waste 3 feet under, and that when there are fires, there have been fires on the site, and I guess they say that the fires burn cool. They just burn the top grasses. But I don't know. wait, I don't know. Looking at the, reading that article and then looking at the video footage and things like that again, and then thinking about the fire that was here just up the road 2 years ago. It's not trees. It's not trees burning. It's houses and all the contents. If you think of all those like things people have in their garages, like paint cans, chemical, all these chemicals people have for their yards, or changing the oil, and not just all the plastics that probably go into building houses, and all the, I don't know, just a lot. That's a lot of toxins in a short amount of time. I haven't really read much about that yet, but maybe I'll look at that some more. It's really scary. And what else about that? Oh, the city of Boulder has open space, so they've preserved a lot of open grasslands, which is really nice. On the Great Plains, well, maybe in those subdivisions too, they're so contained, and then right beside them, are sort of grassy, dry areas. They're sort of like islands. And yeah, grass fire with that wind. It was just amazing to see again.
It's scary.
And then, thinking about Ann Waldman, you showed Ann Waldman, she's brought she brought energy to Boulder, from New York City, and people are talking about New York City, and it's kind of interesting. And then your poem, your visual or your poetry film, Paul, that was so cool. And as Ingrid was saying, so artfully, sort of artwork, an art film. So cool. Like you should enter that somewhere in a festival or contest or something. That's so cool. Maybe you'll make more of those. Maybe you already have. I don't know.
I love making those. I have a whole series of Flexible Mind videos, so thank you.
Those are cool. Those are really cool. Maybe you could put them all together and make a longer film, and you could submit it to a film festival or something.
That's a great
That's
idea.
so neat.
That's a great idea.
That's so neat. And then what else about this week? Oh no, I guess that's enough to say.
Well, but your
Or about
poem.
your cat, and
Yeah, Luna. Anne and I also I've been seeing your direct messages in the chat, and talking about the links between proprioception and people's particular conditions. But Susan, your beautiful mountain poem continues, and I wish I could see it on the screen, because there were some really artful turns in that, but there's so much of it, it's hard to keep it in my mind as to what one, unless I make a note of it. The people have mentioned the volcano, the volcanic, old volcanic look is what Adelia said. And you live in a part of the world that east and a little north, I think it is, of where you're at, north of Crater Lake, are these whole fields of lava domes and whole fields of what is it, basalt? This brown, or I'm sorry, this dark black stone that's just throughout this field. These are some of the most fascinating things I've ever seen in my life, and they're not from where you are. So including that in your poem really gives us the lava, just the reference to the lava and the old volcanic look. It really centers us there, especially if we've been there and seen it. Otherwise, it's pretty exotic, and we wonder where the hell it is. And the fact that your poem continues about the mountain, I think is just fantastic. This is what Anne said. Susan, the images you pull out of the mountain are so gorgeous and surprising.
oh,
Yeah, I agree. I agree with it. And I think it seems very inspired to me what you're doing about that. So
basalt. Yeah, thank you so much. That I haven't been up there in a while, up by Lake and things. But I used to work there and spend a lot of time, working in the woods. so I think about it. Anyway, thank you so much,
Who's next?
KJ.
Thanks, Susan.
Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where or how much I want to say about anything. This week started off wonderful. I made my way through all the material. It took me a while to get through the proprioception, but I did. I saw, I heard everything. And then the week ended in such shock and tragedy that I forgot. I mean, I went to get on the computer. I had trouble getting on to the site, and then I'm looking at my notes and they don't make any sense to me. And as people are saying things, I go, oh yeah, that's right. That was there. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm glad I'm not the last one. Linda, are you the last one to go today? Yeah, good. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day, and several people have brought that up. For part of my family tomorrow, it will be the time to declare someone brain dead and let them go from their choice, from a suicide. And this is my daughter's father-in-law, who she loved very much, and who her son is named after. And it's just a shocking story. He attempted suicide in hospital room, and it's just I just can't imagine making that decision. He did not have a terminal illness or anything. I think he was very confused, and he made the decision to leave. And it's a hard one to accept for his family. Maybe if I just read I've been writing those postcards like I did last week. I'm having trouble writing those too, because they're supposed to be peace postcards that I don't feel very peaceful, or I feel peaceful in a weird way. So I left off last week with the flap heard on both sides. So I'll just start off with the next poem. Heard on both sides of the veil, the blues of spirit and souls. The blues of spirits and souls chase each other in the blustery burst of breeze across the flat, swept desert, where toads lie dormant until a summer monsoon. Until a summer monsoon drums down the dust, I will wear my sweatshirt, sweat free and shivering in the cold half a moonlight. In the cold half a moonlight, I smoke again. Harsh smoke snagging my throat, swallowing my protests in a quiet scritch of pen on paper. A quiet scritch of pen on paper, the in and out of a ventilator. Are you the burden you didn't want to become spirit, and leaving have left whatever remains to us? Whatever remains to us, a tiger-born body, getting and giving up spirit, like twain coming and going in a comet visit. We heard the final growl, the howl of leaving son and grandson alone together. And that's really about all that I have to share.
Oh, Jesus, I'm so sorry, KJ. Did I talk last week about the connection in Chinese medicine to lungs and grief? I did talk about that, didn't I?
Believe me, I've thought of that a lot. Thank you very much for sharing that with me.
Well, that's the association I have with it. Adili was saying that it's not just Latihan that allows one to light up their own proprioception or to develop their proprioception, but Chinese medicine. I mean, that's been there for 2,000-3,000 years, and that's an amazing experience to have acupuncture. I mean, if you just went in and said, I'm having grief, I'd like acupuncture to treat grief, you would find results from it. You might even get a poem. Out of the deal. But I mean, that's obviously not what you have to worry about today or tomorrow. You have to worry about your heart or fully express your grief. When you write these as postcard poems, they are peace poems. They are, this notion that peace has to be war is bad, turn your guns into swords into plowshares and all this kind of crap, cliched crap. To me, that's not what I'm after with a peace poem. And I know that it's difficult to say what you just did today is an incredible act of peace, but it is. You're expressing your deepest, concerns, your deepest sympathies, your deepest feelings in such a way that it's medicine for us. It allows us to be more human. That's the job here, is to be more human, not to make everybody feel happy, to make them feel more human. And you've achieved that in an incredible way. So I'm grateful that the class has something to do with this. And it's very clearly seriality, what you're doing, the carrying through of the theme. I love that.
I am amazed on how that has worked for me and very much appreciate it. And I very much appreciate all of you who've been through some tough times with me in the last 6 months or so. So I thank you for being here. You mean a lot.
Excellent.
And Linda, take it away.
Hi. Yeah, I'm so sorry, KJ. It's just awful. Okay, the week's material. I love Paul's poem, video poem. That line, to wash down the last gulp of the American dream. There's a title for your next collection. Yeah, anyway, I really enjoyed it. I don't know how you did it all, but it's pretty neat. The proprioception article, I've read it twice and I still don't get it. I get little glimmers, but it's a hard one. I found it quite difficult. Actually, I've appreciated hearing what people have said, starting with Laura, about it, because I think it helps me in again. I'll probably have another look at it. The one about the urban firestorm is, of course, very real to us here who live in mountains with trees all around. And about 100 years ago, there was a big fire above Nelson that you can still see if the sun's right and you're looking at the right place. You can see on the ridge where there's dead trees still from that. And everybody knows that, we're going to have a turn around here one of these years. And we just keep hoping it won't be this year. So it was a very sobering article that I totally got. I like the Nita clip a lot. I'd love to see more of that. It's a neat documentary, I think. I love that little poem she had in there, the ice on the minnow bucket and a school of leaves moving downstream. I was just, wow, she's gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. With regard to the music, I'm one of the ones who have left Spotify, which of course makes it a bit awkward. So what I've done though is I have been grabbing a number of the title, and the reason I did it is mainly because of the way they pay musicians, not so much to do with the Joe Rogan thing. But my son's a musician, and I know they treat musicians like shit. So that finally tipped me. Anyway, so I'm doing Apple Music, which corporately probably isn't a lot better, but they do pay their musicians better, about 3 times as much. And they have Joni Mitchell, so there, that's my reasoning.
And Neil Young.
Anyway,
And Neil Young.
And well, yeah, I can go either way with Neil. I like some of his stuff, but Joni
And Loverboy.
Oh yay. Anyway, yeah. So what I did was I took a number of the songs that were on your playlist and pulled them over into one which I now have called LARP, and doing it that way. So I loved hearing Carla Bley again. I loved hearing Esperanza Spalding and Emily Haynes. And I liked the introduction to Patricia Barber. I hadn't heard of her, but I quite like her stuff. And in fact, downloaded her Cole Porter album homage thing because I really like all those songs. And I reference this in my poem, which I guess I can almost read now. Oh yeah, as of this week, I've been fairly distracted this week because the news up here is terrifying, quite frankly, with what's going on in Ottawa. And now it's moved to Windsor. It's in Alberta. They had somebody blocked the border in BC yesterday, one of the border crossings, and it's just uglier and uglier and uglier. Excuse me. So it's been a bit distracting.
And can you put the link to the podcast about this in the chat? And also Adelia is going to put the link to the Poems for Peace that I'm doing Thursday at 11 Pacific for Sika. So Anne, hopefully we'll get.
How do I do that?
Oh, you have to copy and paste, but I probably could do it easier than you. So I'll work on that.
Oh, okay.
And Adelia is going to work on the Sika link, which is going out to my list on Thursday. It's on paulenelson.com. The poems, if you can. All right, Linda. Sorry.
Yeah. So yes. Anyway, so all these distractions this week. I still managed to get out for a couple of walks. About 3 or 4 walks actually. I go down by the river and it's wonderful, and that's sort of what I'm writing about. Oh yeah, Ted calls his first wife Judy's current husband, his husband-in-law. And Judy refers to Ted as her husband. So you get all these little terminologies that come up.
And you know lesbians who have a gay man as a very close friend? That would be their husband. That's what at least one lesbian I know has done that. So it doesn't mean every lesbian has a husband, but you get it.
All right, so I'll share my poem thing that is just sort of an ongoing ramble in my head. Hang on. This one. There we go. February 11th at 2:30 in the morning. In the land of afterloss, grief takes its own path for everyone in its own time, with its own music. Nobody says to me anymore, "You walk fast." Burning upside down flags or slaughtering puppies, everything in an uproar. I line up behind 2 pickup trucks to get the car washed. When I open my window to access the ticket machine, my nose fills with the smell of diesel. Can't imagine what it smells like in Ottawa these days, where the air quality is worse than Mexico City's. Somebody's drawn a few squiggles and a cock on the bench where I sit to gaze at the Columbia. The bench has a plaque memorializing a couple, parents of a friend, with words by Maya Angelou. Speak to humankind today. Come to me here beside the river. Always the river. Beside this one, the slowly thawing surface of the ground unwraps desiccated orange peels, and a train sounds its horn. To think there are those who complain about that kind of noise. Snow turned to ice, turned to slush, allows for safe purchase now, and always the river flowing by. Eddies sketching circles on the surface, buffleheads taking off and landing on the slick black runway, runaway, run so far you can't catch me. Back on the bench, this thing about the cock, the thing about the cock is I can't tell which end is which. maybe it's not a cock at all, but a depiction of a small, squat alien keeping its eye on things in case we Earthlings annihilate each other in the coming weeks. Something I never thought likely till recently. So much turmoil in the world and in the Wordle. You'd think we'd have learned how to get along by now. Always the river calms me with its insistent purr and grumble as it determinedly heads south, border be damned, though not as headstrong as once it was, river be damned. You can sense its determination to find the ocean, become one with its salt, salty, salted, salt of the earth. Winter gives way, spring shoulders it aside, the planet hurls through space, birds are singing. Listening to Larry Croyle's Song for Jim Webb, a quick riff floats up like bubbles at a kid's party, reminds me of Tofu Stravinsky's Molly Left Me All Alone and its prescient honoring of the Lunar New Year. We went out like tigers in a town full of mice. Who wouldn't want to have written that? If I'd had a daughter, Molly would have made the short list of names, at least until I met her and could see if they matched. When my son was born, I tried all kinds of names on him: James, Paul, Brian, Joseph. None of them seemed right until I said Jesse, and he side-eyed me with the tiniest smirk, all 2 days of him, I swear, and I knew we'd come to a consensus. But back to Coriel and his restful mind, I'm trying to figure out if the Jim Webb he wrote the song for is the politician or the guy who wrote MacArthur Park, and who was quoted in an article 2 decades old now saying he didn't want to be considered an old fart then, and he's only 2 years older than I am. And who says writing a song is a lot easier than people think. My money's on the guy who's responsible for MacArthur Park, a song my family routinely sings at celebratory dinners like Christmas or birthdays when cakes come out. Bring it, sing it. The younger generation agog at the ridiculousness of it all. There you go.
Can you sing a little of that? Someone left a cake out in the lane. How did?
I don't think that I can bake it. It took too long to make it. Oh yeah.
Next, in 3 weeks, we study Rod McEwen. No, I'm kidding.
I want my money back.
I put my comments in the chat. There were some really artful moments in that. Become one with its salt. I was waiting for like 3 people to type it in the chat. I was trying to get it as quick as possible. Those two, and all 2 days of him talking about naming your son. Which, what's wrong with Paul anyway? I just wonder. I don't know. It just seems like a.
Well, my last name and Jesse carried at the time, and Jesse's last name now is Lee. And I was actually really thinking about Paul. And then my friend Alan said, Paul, Paul Lee. Paulie want a cracker. So that one got axed.
I've never heard that one before. Fantastic. I love that you're writing about the river. I think become one with its salt is where you branch off and graph for the next thing. And I support your move to Apple Music. If that's what you have to do, you can look at the list and extrapolate and get an idea from it. That's fantastic. So mission accomplished on that. I love how these cereals are developing in such beautiful organic ways. And, you know, Adelia, how that poem, that you didn't have much for the material, but you came out with that poem, which is just gorgeous. And feeling the shadow side of Valentine's Day. We'll be having Valentine's Day dinner in Grants Pass tomorrow night, if we get there okay, which I hope we do. I do want to share screen to show you this, a little bit of this book, Book Arts Mendocino, not the whole travel log, Sanderson, Morgan, Eureka, but okay, so this is, here we go, Book Arts Mendocino, and some of the shots around town. This is the Partners Gallery, lots of ravens. I got very close to one. They lay out dog food for the ravens to eat in this town, which is kind of crazy. And oh, and some of them doubled because I put them on Instagram. But I want to go to this. See, all these are doubles, right? Because I went through those before. But I want to go to, okay, so here is one of the broadsides that Teresa Whitehill did, 3 to Get Ready, Todos Santos. Another broadside there, Bringing Flowers to Salinas Valley State Prison. This is some of the materials for the hand letterpress, some of the type, some of the Chinese characters for the type. The Necropolitics of Extraction is this book by Felicia Rice. And you can see it's an accordion book, which is just, look at this. I mean, think about how many months it took to make one copy of this. Linda, you probably have some insight into that. And it just keeps going on and on. It's the centerpiece, really, of this whole exhibit, which involves, I think, 7 different venues here in Mendocino against extraction, right? So,
Oh, is that sound part of the soundtrack of the extraction, or?
no, that was just the sound of my video going. The left and the right, says Guillermo Gomez Peña, conservatives tell me I have no right to criticize the US, that if I don't like it here, I should go back to Mexico. The left is always trying to save me from my own contradictions. And when I state my case, they pretend to listen because I'm a Chicano and it's uncool to visibly ignore a person of color. My job is to remind both sides that as an artist, I'm here precisely to complicate their assumptions and challenge their simplistic definitions. My job is also to keep the wound open, make it hurt a bit, not to heal it. That's the job of activists, scholars, and spiritual leaders. That's what Guillermo Gomez Peña said. And then this is more art that's in the gallery. Oh, that was their joke, that if you have a punchline for this, they're interested in learning. 3 letterpress printers walk into a shed. So I'm working on the punchline for that, but I haven't come up with it yet.
It's not about changing a light bulb. It's changing a.
This is an example of the book art. Altered book, right? And then flowers, trees. Hold on. I'm gonna skip back for a second to go directly to the this last book made this. So this will give you an idea of what can be done with art. So A Raven's Funeral, and how this raven, who was the partner of this raven who died, essentially was the main bird at this wake that these ravens did. And there's the book. This woman made it, and I took a copy of each page, and so she's got them festooned with, you know, little stones and feathers. There she is. I should probably turn that around, but there's the artist. And she heard the story. She didn't witness it personally, but she heard it, and it sounded, they told it so well that it felt like she was there. And so each page has some of the text, and then is festooned with metal and photographs and feathers and pictures of birds. The grieving raven stayed a while, left, returned, with a whole congress of ravens. And yada, yada, yada. I can't, it's hard for me to read unless I pull it up again. You see the art that was in there? She could tell the ravens were holding a funeral. She watched the one who lay under the tree. And she watched the raven who came and went. And that one I need to turn around. Bhakti had to hold it open because otherwise it would just close. She held that one open too. And that's the end of it, just like that. So you can, that could be yours for the tidy sum of $500. And that's an example of some of the book art here at Book Art Mendocino, which is why we came in to hear Teresa Whitehill talk yesterday. Brilliant talk about her learning hand letterpress, studying with Robinson Jeffers for a bit, and then moving up here to Mendocino, and she now lives in Ukiah, which is haiku backwards. And that's my report for this week.
Did she really study with Robertson Jeffers? No. Oh my gosh.
Not Robinson Jeffers, Brother Antoninus.
Others
Forgive me.
still
Forgive
pretty.
me.
And so you had a dinner out with,
William Everson in the 70s at Santa Cruz. Forgive me.
yeah. I thought
Forgive
maybe Robertson Esther's might. And then you
No,
had a dinner out with.
that was a little bit before. That was a bit before.
Yeah. That's, it's like,
But fantastic. They want to do it again next year. Mendocino in February is not bad. The Red Hot Pokers were out already. They said this is just a nice blast. We're going to get more winter. So, but much vegetation was out, and we took many pictures, and it's been great. And we leave tomorrow morning for Grants Pass, and then Tuesday Grants Pass to Seattle. And I will have material up here at least a week before, like that Monday before we meet. We're meeting in 3 weeks from tonight, first Sunday in March. So what can I say that hasn't been said tonight? What a joy it is, what an honor it is to be with you all. How inspiring it is to hear all the work that you create, how it changes my life. The whole, the whole discussion of proprioception to me has set me on a whole direction of learning all about this and seeing what Charles Olson, because I believe Olson was a prophet, and I believe, he wasn't just doing these things because he thought they were cool. He was inspired by something greater than himself to talk about this. And proprioception is the less representative of all his essays, and I think it's about time that somebody got deep into this. So thank you for allowing me to guide you through it and for your comments about it. As we learn about it, as I talk to you about it, I learn about it. And that's one of the beautiful things of teaching. So it's very inspiring. So thank you. And do record a poem if you guys haven't done that on your phone, on a recorder. You can use QuickTime if you have a Mac. Bhakti was using QuickTime to create videos. They're very bright. They're very good. And iMovie is a very easy program once you get to know it. If you want a quick primer on that, I'd be happy to give you that if you would create a video poem of your work. So let me know about that. Maybe I'll see you Thursday. Otherwise, thank you for sacrificing your Super Bowl Sunday to be here. I know you're all wondering who's winning right now and probably checking your cell phones to see if the Bengals have scored or whatever. Maybe not. Okay.
Did everybody get that link I posted for Paul's reading on Thursday at 11? And
can you email it to us?
Yeah, I just don't have everybody's email address, but Paul, if you.
Well, she, Ann sent an email out. Actually, KJ sent an email out. So if you respond to that one that went to all of us, because she said she was having some problems getting in. So KJ, we're thinking about you. We're holding you close to our hearts. We're hoping that some good come out of this, but don't be in any hurry to figure out what that is. Just be with it and try not to smoke too much. What did Mark Twain say about, that line about Mark Twain saying it's easy to quit smoking? I did it 100 times, right? You know that, yeah, you know that line. All right, and then Frank Zappa, did I mention Frank Zappa's line about that? He was asked near the end of his life why he was smoking because he had prostate cancer. He said, I think the claims against tobacco are a little overblown. And the way I look at it, tobacco is my favorite vegetable. So I don't know if you're going to say that to people, but probably not.
Paul, did you get your card?
I got my card. I did. Oh, and I responded.
Oh, okay. More smoking.
That's right.
More
It was
smoking?
Oh, I just that's where I used that line. It was in your poem. The Frank Zappa line about tobacco being his favorite vegetable. So look for that. I just wrote a poem for you.
That is one vegetable they have in abundance in Greece.
There you go. They think a lot like Zappa does.
Yeah.
All right, people, until 3 weeks. Much love to you all. Thanks for being here. See you soon.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Bye, Carl.
Bye-bye.
I love to Bhakti.
Yeah.